and welcome to the Dementia Doctor. Today I have Dr. Krohn here with me. He is going to tell us about his interesting research. Welcome, Dr. Krohn, and we also would like to hear a little bit more about who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invitation. I'm a neuroscientist by profession, studied biology many years ago, and then did several postdocs through academia in different countries before I joined industry to develop an Alzheimer's drug.
Okay, and currently you are located in Germany, is that correct?
Currently, I'm located in Germany, yeah.
Okay, where in Germany? We're just curious.
In Heidelberg, currently.
Okay. Tell us more about what you currently do in your current position.
In my current position as Chief Scientific Officer, I am designing a phase 1b clinical trial as well as preclinical drug development program for our target for a multimodal treatment of Alzheimer's disease.
So that's a lot of heavy words for our listeners. Can you explain what is phase 1b and preclinical trial for medication?
Yeah, so in the development of drugs, you have to go through different stages, right? And you start before being in the clinic, before putting something into a human, you have to test it on cell cultures and also in some animals to make sure it's safe before you give it to a human patient. And this is the so-called preclinical phase. After that follows a clinical phase 1, then a phase 2, and then a phase 3, which usually drugs are approved if the trials are all successful. Most drugs fail in phase 1 or 2. And we are now we have a parallel program, so to say. We're in phase 1b with a so-called repurposed drug. And in parallel, we're developing a new drug, which should be more specific once we have done that.
Tell us more about what do you mean by a repurposed drug, and we would also like to learn about the drug that you're developing.
Yeah, sure. So a repurposed drug is a drug that has been on the market or approved for an indication for a disease. In our case, it was nausea and vomiting. The drug was on the market from the 60s. It's not anymore because it's just very old and there are better drugs for this indication. But we found that it triggers the mechanism we want to trigger. We can talk about that later. But obviously, it has been developed for another disease. So this is a different mechanism. And the new drug we are developing will have, so we plan to not have address the mechanism of the older indication because we don't need that anymore. Now it would be side effects. And this is something we have to get out of the drug.
Oh, okay. So as I understand, it was a nausea medication that was used long ago, now no more in use, and you're repurposing it for Alzheimer's disease.
Exactly.
And you're working it in a way that it does not cause that effect, but we are trying to use it for Alzheimer's disease. So does it target amyloid protein? What does it do?
It's rather unique. So most drugs you hear about currently and that are approved are targeting amyloid. Amyloid is just one aspect of the whole Alzheimer's disease. It's a very messy disease, you could say. There are at least 3 things that are mainly important. This is the amyloid, which we talk about, the very sticky, small protein. And that causes, for example, another protein called tau to be altered in a way that is not good, and then it also starts sticking together. And this altogether also leads to an inflammation because the brain tries to defend itself against weird things, so to say. And this triggers these inflammatory processes. And our drug target has a dual function. It, on the one hand, transports or clears amyloid from the brain. And on the other hand, it causes to dampen the inflammation via the same protein we detect with our drug. And this is very unique because that's what I meant with multimodal. So we have several effects with just one drug. And that's what makes us very excited about this mechanism.
Certainly. So far, the drugs we are seeing here at this conference as well are either targeting amyloid or tau. There are some drugs that target inflammation. And of course, there is now this talk about combining these drugs, so to say, the amyloid and tau or an amyloid and inflammation therapies, but there are still two drugs. And here you are, you're telling us about this therapy that you're developing that is one drug that affects both the amyloid and inflammation. So this is truly exciting.
Yeah, we really like that. All the future is combination therapy, but the ideal future, but it's very hard to get to, is combination therapy with just one drug because you have less problems to control for.
Absolutely. Are you in the phase 1B? Has that finished or is this still going on?
No, we've planned that. We're currently finishing the funding for that. It's an expensive endeavor. And that will be used as a proof of mechanism trial. We then inform the development path of the new molecule. And if we find the right partners, also bring that repurposed drug into the market because it's a way quicker and reach patient much earlier.
Yeah, I understand that since it's repurposed, it has already jumped some hoops of regulations, drug regulations. So it's already cleared that. It's a very interesting idea, of course. How did you reach this particular drug out of all the drugs that might have existed before that? I'm curious about that.
That was just hard work. In the end, it was a lot of literature screening. At the time, we identified or discovered that mechanism, our target protein. There was no information about this. The problem is that the target protein we have is rather known in oncology because it causes the cells to protect the cancer cells against the chemotherapies. So which is why all the drugs that have been developed against these proteins are inhibitors, so things that block the protein. But we need an activator. We just want to reactivate the protein. We reactivate the innate clearance mechanism of the brain with that. And there wasn't any. So we had to look through a lot of scientific studies until we found one that accidentally found a molecule that did the wrong thing for them, but for us it was the right thing. So that's how we discovered that, and from there we went on.
Thank you. Our listeners really value what you're doing. We understand that this is very early on in the drug development, but we really value the research and the time and the hard work we are putting in for these drug developments. Do you have any message for our audience today?
Well, I think we are living in a good time regarding Alzheimer's therapies. There's a lot of things in development and coming. There will be a lot of different therapies, I believe, in like 5 years, which will be beneficial for different patients. And this is a very encouraging thought. And we hope to do our part to it.
Absolutely. There has been a shift in the world of Alzheimer and dementia in the past few years where initially, even when I took the decision to come in the field, people asked me, what are you going to do? It's you just diagnose and adios, and what do you do? But we are living in a very exciting time with new ways to test for Alzheimer's, new ways to treat, and with hardworking individuals like you, we are having a lot of things to look forward to. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.